Yeah. All right. So as I mentioned, this week is the week of the NFL drafts. Something that someone like me who loves drafts of all types, but especially the NFL draft, can't get enough of. Very excited. Lots of great players, great prospects. The fortunes of multiple teams will change. We don't know who because we don't know, what these players are going to be until they actually get onto the field. Right. And people say, Jay, that there's a certain point in every draft where the draft starts.
Yes.
And what they mean is usually the first few picks, we already know who it's going to be based on what team is drafting and what that team obviously needs and being in a position to get the best player at that position of need. So in this year's draft, generally people believe they know exactly where the first two picks are going, to the Jags and to the Jets. More on that later. But that the draft starts at pick number 3 with the 49ers, who moved up a month and a half ago to the 3 spot with the Dolphins, trading in a sense 3 first-round picks to get there. So in this 3 spot, what most of the media speculation has been, with some just due, is that it's going to come down to Alabama's Mac Jones, Ohio State's Justin Fields, or North Dakota State's Trey Lance.
Mac Jones.
That is one of those 3, and that nobody knows for sure. Now, the consensus in the media, Jay, has been that it's going to be Mac Jones, right? That's what people think. That's what people say. But I guess the decision got a little more clearer to people today because Ian Rappaport of NFL Media reported that Justin Fields of Ohio State is no longer being considered by the 49ers at that number 3 pick, leaving Mac Jones or Trey Lance. So the obvious question starting out is, why is Justin Fields, as great as he was at Ohio State, why is he off the 49ers board at 3?
That concerns me as well. So I did notice that there was the report that came out that he suffers from epilepsy.
Yes.
It's a family condition or whatnot, and he's taking medication for it to stabilize it and to minimize it or whatnot.
Yes.
And I've always been curious, would that be something that would be fearful of the team? I don't know. There's got to be something out there about Justin Fields that is being leaked or being talked about that's making everybody run away from him. I don't get it. There's nothing that's been told to me to make me think that he shouldn't even be looked at for the number 3 pick like this. For example, it's funny. I was listening to Bomani Jones mentioned this on, I think it was Highly Questionable about a week or 2 ago, and he's been saying this over and over and over. He's asking the question of, why have we all been ignoring the New York Jets selecting Zach Wilson? When have we ever trusted the Jets to do something right? Right. Why haven't we said anything about them? Like, no one's talking about them making this pick. Everyone's just saying, oh, yeah, he's going to go to the Jets, and no one's questioning it. Like, why isn't there an issue behind them doing this? But we've heard nothing but scrutiny about Justin Fields. From the Dan Orlovsky situation, which was really bad for him, because even his colleagues like Kirk Herbstreit lashed out at him about it. But there's been nothing else about anybody else for the most part as far as flaws and everything. So I'm really perplexed as to why San Fran's not considering Fields, even though Fields kind of fits the mold of what Kyle Shanahan likes to do. I mean, if you think about RG3 and what he was doing with RG3 and the stuff that he made happen, the only reason why RG3 did not work out is because Kyle Shanahan played the dude with like no ligaments in his knees. You had this dude out here trying to play. I remember watching his knee buckle and him falling, and I thought I was going to puke. It was so disgusting, but he was out there playing injured. Because for some reason, Kyle Shanahan couldn't figure out how to shift the system. So, to me, I don't understand why he's been taken off their board. Hopefully, you can shed some sort of light on this.
Well, being a 49ers fan, I probably did more film study of 3 quarterbacks than I ever have before because I'm highly interested in who they're going to pick, both of them as my favorite team. I won't really call myself a fan too much because, as we say, it is short for fanatic. I'm not fanatical about this team because I can be critical of the team based upon where they're at the time.
You're a realistic fan.
I'm a realistic fan, yeah. So I watched tape on all 3, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. Anything that I could see, mostly YouTube highlights, scrutiny, etc. A lot of people have broken them down, former quarterbacks have. And to explain this decision, this is what I came to. Let's say it's strictly a football decision, and for the sake of argument, the epilepsy thing doesn't bother the 49ers. Let's say it's not that, and that it's pure football that they've taken him off the board. One reason why is because if it was between these three, you can't come into the week of the draft still stuck at 3, being that indecisive. You can come in with 2 and then use these last few days to discuss it amongst your department, your front office, your scouts, and then decide between the 2. But you can't come into this week with 3 because that's too many. That's too much more analysis to do. And you need to know what you're doing. You need to eventually make a decision. So it's that. And when it comes to being a thrower of the football, now I'll say this first before I mention this next part. When I see Justin Fields, to me, the comp is Russell Wilson. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know what it is about him, but that's immediately who I see in terms of what his ceiling could be when I watch him play. So I think he's a fine thrower of the football, but I think they look at Mac Jones. They say he's the most accurate passer in the draft, and he basically is. And they look at Trey Lance and they see Colin Mahomes, Colin Kaepernick level feet, Patrick Mahomes level arm, not quite to where they were, but approaching that neighborhood. He's at the table with them. So they see that and they say we'd rather have either the most accurate passer or a Patrick Mahomes level arm over a quarterback who looks like Russell Wilson, who could be great for that reason, but we'd rather have one of the first two. So if it's football related, I think it's that, because everything else he did almost as well or better. Obviously, he's got more tape than Trey Lance, and Mac Jones only has that one season, but he was surrounded by all of that first round talent, as we'll see in the draft. So, Justin Fields, again, for me, playing against Clemson, one of the best defenses, one of the best defensive coordinators in football with a broken rib and carving them up on the national playoff stage was all I needed to see as far as him being a thrower of the football in a situation that matters where the pressure could not be higher.
Right. So I'm with you on that. I'm there with you. I was listening to another quarterback analysis out there. Chris Sims was on the Ryan Russillo pod, and he was talking about quarterbacks. And I'm going to talk a lot about this more on my solo when I talk about, honestly, why top 5 quarterbacks don't always pan out. I kind of want Justin Fields to fall further. It gives him that chip. And at the same time, he'll fall more in line of where more quarterbacks are successful in comparison to being in that top 5 spot. But he mentioned this. Usually your big school quarterbacks, there's a reason why they're not as – they don't come out and become as successful. Like over the last few years, we've seen a lot of Oklahoma quarterbacks. We're starting to see – actually, this will be the second Bama quarterback we're going to see, and then probably our second Ohio State quarterback that we're going to see come out there. But they're usually not as successful as others because when they walk on the field in college football, they're undisputed the top team, talent-wise. Everything around them is better than everybody else they're going up against. Because of that, that yields a level of a margin of error. That means they can take more chances. They can be a little bit more loosey-goosey. And they get away with more mistakes because most of their mistakes are fixed by their wide receiver, their offensive line, their running back, or even themselves just scrambling out of the play because they got so much more talent compared to everybody else. Then you can go into smaller schools when it comes to competition. The question you ask with them is, can they just throw the ball? Are they just good enough to make it happen? And with them, they have smaller windows. Like you would say, like with Alabama, with Mac Jones, with Devontae Smith, how small of a window did he really have throwing it to him? It ain't that small. When they butt naked open all the time, it's not that hard to complete passes. And that's always a scrutiny when it came to even like, you quarterbacks coming out, is that Lincoln Riley was such a genius constructing an offense that every pass they threw was somebody wide open. Trevor Lawrence, same thing. He was throwing the butt naked open dudes all the time at Clemson. Same thing with Mac Jones. Justin Fields was the exact same thing, except for when he started going against those NFL caliber type defenses from Alabama and Clemson. You started to see his receivers have to figure out how to get open, and he was able to throw them. So my point, not like I said, I'll get more in detail on this another time, is that most quarterbacks coming from these bigger schools, and this is why I say top 5 quarterbacks, especially from a bigger school, don't usually pan out. They walk in the door with the best roster. And then when you go to the NFL, Trevor Lawrence is going to lose more with Jacksonville than he's ever lost in his entire life. Guaranteed. He's probably going to go 5-11 ish, 4-12, 3-13 this season because he's not going to have enough talent to handle, to be prepared for everybody else in the league. He's not going to be able to make that change immediately unless Jacksonville does something on defense. And I don't know who trusts Jacksonville to do something right. So
Now, with this report, here's what I'm wondering: how would Ian Rappaport even know this? Because up until this point with San Francisco, they've been very tight-lipped. How do they know this? How does he know this?
Because they told him this, and they wanted this to get out. A scout wanted this to get out there that they weren't going to go for Justin Fields.
But why?
That's a good question. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they. Well, I wonder if they're trying to find a way to move. Well, deflate the value of an asset. Why would you want to trade down with that? It doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. Now you got me confused again. I don't know why you would want to do that. Mm-hmm. What value did they get out of making Justin Fields fall?
I mean, everyone's go-to answer would be that it's a smokescreen, that he's the one who they really do like.
But it doesn't
they don't
matter.
Right.
Because the first two picks are the first two picks. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence and Zach.
But you just said we can't trust the Jets we don't know what the Jets essentially are going to do.
Oh, we know what the Jets are going to do. They're going to draft Zach Wilson. Now, the question is why are they going to draft Zach Wilson?
Right. Why are they going to draft Zach Wilson over Justin Fields?
Exactly. But they're going to.
Mm-hmm. I know why. I'll get more into that a little bit later, But yeah, outside of that, again, I don't know what the value is either of that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. Now you got me confused. Thank you.
I'm confused as well, but all the confusion will be cleared up on Thursday when they actually do make their pick, and they can more candidly answer these questions. But even then, they won't, because they'll say, we loved all three guys or all four guys. They're great players. Five guys going to have great NFL careers. This is the quarterback that we felt was the best for us moving forward.
Yep, they already said that. I saw a report that the 49ers stated.
Who are the other two?
They like. Because
if Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson aren't going to be there, who are the other two they're talking about? Is it those other two?
Yeah, Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is going to drop to him.
That they had five guys that they were sold on at the number 3 pick, but they like 5 quarterbacks that fit with number 3.
Yeah.
But only 2 of 3 of them are they really considering. And Fields is in that list. This was from 4:00 today, so I don't know what that means, but we'll see where he ends up.